for the Adirondacks, and I was really thinking about the industry now because I spent time really trying to train people. That didn't seem to work, and Joe was still struggling with it. And Dan, at this point, I think had, matured, and you were moving down to take over the wholesale business on the insurance side. Joe kept saying to me, why don't you think about doing something yourself in the insurance industry?
Well, I think it's interesting because, obviously being at AIG and watching you create the Environmental Institute, it was such a sharp idea. As a matter of fact, in 2000, I went down to Columbia, Maryland, because AIG had a tremendous amount of business at that point in time from the large alpha brokers, but it really did not have any specialization for wholesale brokers. And in a very short period of time, I realized that there was an infinite amount of business in the wholesale marketplace with no specialization.
Definitely.
And I remember, saying to my father at that point in time that I think I would know what I want to do for a living. And we spent hours engaging upon that.
It wasn't just the retail brokers that were thinking about environmental insurance. So I was a risk manager and one of my largest clients was a UK operation. And I was the US risk manager for the dissolution of, I know the number, 1,586 brownfield properties throughout the US. So it wasn't just the retail brokers that were thinking about it. It was a lot of attorneys. A lot of the lawyers were some of the early adapters because they were brought in from the legal perspective. And as a risk manager, that's how I came in to find out about cost caps and, environmental insurance. And it really was that brownfield development time period at serendipitous Synapse, really.
It was that portfolio really that introduced the two of you.
Yeah.
If you talk about that time when Vita, you had somebody throw a business card on your desk and said, I think there's a lot you should go talk to this guy about.
So Matt was one of the environmental attorneys, came in and threw two business cards on my desk and said, I met with this guy. I don't understand a thing he's talking about. It sounds just like you. Sounds like things you're talking about that I don't understand either. So I'm like, okay, I'll give him a call. And our story is that we had a 6-hour meeting, and 6 months later, we became business partners, and it all began.
It was great that, from my perspective, because I was still at AIG at the time, but I felt that at that moment in time that this company that was being formalized was one that, I was going to basically leave AIG and go and be able to go out and create my career aspirations.
I want it to be something that is a brand, and it creates a family environment. It can morph itself into different areas, and it has a culture. And as I thought more and more about it, I said, it has to be kind of a synapse, because it's going to have to adapt, and it's going to have to change, and it's going to have to do these things. And as it does this, it has to be there so it lives on. It shouldn't be something that's me. It should be something that welcomes certainly my son in, because I'm building this in part because he's ready to take it over. He has to do this because there's a synapse happening over here. And then there's a lot of other people that are coming here. And it's going to have to change over time. And it's going to have a culture.